it's Liz here. I just thought I'd do a quick video because I haven't posted in quite a while on this channel. I actually had planned on doing a video and then it kind of didn't happen. I actually have one in the making, but decided that I didn't want to post that. That's because I have been struggling quite a bit mentally for the last month or two. Basically, me and my husband, for the last year or so, decided that, 2020 was so rubbish that we wanted something good to come out of it. So we decided to focus on getting pregnant, which is something that's been on the cards for years, but always thought, oh, next year will be better, next year will be better. And obviously at the moment, none of these years are good. So, So I came off all my medication very, very gradually at the beginning of the year, last year, and then came off the pill in June, and my normal period cycle came back in kind of August time, I think. So then September we tried, no success, but October, the only second time ever of trying, I fell pregnant. I knew I was pregnant because it was just something, like, I'm very intuitive, but I felt a pain, and I'd been reading up on it, and it's like the implantation pain, which I don't know how common it is to feel it, but anyway, then my next period obviously was late, so I did a test and it said I was pregnant. I was really, really happy, and I worked out I was at that time I was 5 weeks pregnant. Then the next week, basically, I'd had a conversation with my doctor. He'd advised me about my medication I'm on now. I'm only on a couple. I'm on sertraline for my anxiety and depression, Adcal for my vitamin D, and fexofenadine and cimetidine for my mast cell activation disorder. So I kind of halved my dose of all of those gradually, was fine with that. And then the following week I started having some spotting, some bleeding. And I was like, well, I know this is kind of normal, especially if it's the implantation bleeding. But to be honest, like, I joined all the apps. I was so we were both really excited. Couldn't believe it. We'd even planned to, like, on Christmas Day this year, to tell our parents and stuff. And then things just went horribly wrong. So I started to bleed a bit more, and I got really bad cramps, and so I phoned the out of hours midwife service, and they said to go to A&E, which I didn't want to do, but I knew that this was really important, so I had to. And my blood pressure had been a bit high as well, and usually for me it's the opposite with my POTS. So it was honestly very traumatizing, and I'm not going to go into much detail because it still is. But being an early pregnancy, there is just nothing out there to tell you what to expect or what might happen in good and bad ways. And that was all I knew. I didn't join any Facebook groups because I didn't want anyone I knew to see that I'd joined, because they might twig and then blurt it out. And I didn't want to ask on anywhere because it was so early. So in A&E, I was on my own, because in the UK you're not allowed anyone with you because of COVID. So I had to sit there for a good 2 hours waiting to see a doctor, because in my head I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm miscarrying, and I just in my head was like, why don't they care? Like, this is really horrible. They did some tests. There was a really nice gynae doctor who took some bloods, and she did an examination down there, and then I was put on fluids and paracetamol for the pain. The fluids were my heart rate was also very high, and my blood pressure was really high. So then they said they wanted to keep me in for observation and keep me on fluids, which I was really upset about, because obviously you're not allowed visitors, you're not allowed anybody with you at any point in the hospital. And I have terrible PTSD from past experiences at that hospital. It was Hinchinbrook in Cambridgeshire. That's where I was last year, where they kept me in with my back for no reason, and I was like a prisoner there. So yeah, so basically they kept me in, did observations. I had blood tests all through the night, which was really good. It was just reassuring they were doing that. But at the same time, I was bleeding more. And by the next day, I had had clots, and I just knew. And I broke down crying in the toilet, and all that kind of stuff happened. And then I had to go for an internal scan to see, because they thought it might be ectopic pregnancy. Had that. They said that they couldn't see anything, but that it was so early on, that was usually what they wouldn't see much anyway. The pregnancy test was still positive. So they said I could go home, providing that if I got worse, I went back. But I just wanted to be at home. It was the most horrible thing being on my own, knowing I was miscarrying without my husband or anyone. And at this stage, my parents didn't know. None of our parents knew. The only people that knew were a few close friends that I've got with EDS who I confided in because they've been pregnant before, and I just wanted, with EDS, it was really hard because, again, I couldn't really ask anyone. It was horrible. So I stayed at home. The next day 2 days later, I went back for blood tests to check my HCG levels, and they'd actually gone up. They'd more than doubled. So they were like, "This is great news, you're still pregnant, da 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 da." And I was like, amazing. So then a week later, I had to go for another internal scan. That was just like standard when you're bleeding. And they were like, "Can't see anything." And the man who scanned me was really abrupt, as if I was making it up that I was pregnant, but the urine test said otherwise. So they were like, "This is a bit confusing." My blood pressure was still high. So I had to have another blood test, and they said, "Oh, you can wait around for the results, but it could be 2 to 3 hours." And I was like, "My husband's outside. I just want to go home with my husband and get the results with my husband." So we came home, and in that afternoon, I had a call from one of the nurses to say that my HCG had dropped right down to 7. So it was a miscarriage because it had gone up to like 500 and something, I think. And that was it. And she said, "Oh, you need to take a pregnancy test." I said, "Oh, right, who do I need to, like in a week, who do I need to give the results to?" Oh, she said, "No, nobody. It's just so you can confirm it's gone." And I'm like, that's harsh. And then, so the whole of Christmas was like ruined anyway because of, in the UK, the lockdown, and Boxing Day we all went into tier 4. I haven't seen my parents since October. That, I just wanted a cuddle from my mum. I wanted, like, so bad. Christmas was pretty much cancelled because of the UK being just so bad at the moment with coronavirus. We're in full lockdown now as of last night. So that's it. I don't know when I'll next see my parents again. I'll obviously see them on video chat, but face to face could be March. Don't know. They said obviously that it's so common to miscarry. 1 in 5 women miscarry. They wouldn't even consider that it could be my EDS or POTS or other conditions, Sjogren's, or just anything. And they were like, "You've done nothing wrong." And that part of me knows that I haven't done anything wrong. There's nothing more I could have done. I was really good. I'd stopped having anything that said was a bit risky in pregnancy, like food and drink wise and medication wise. I'd come down quite, easily off my meds. But the thing I found really hard is that it's been a delayed reaction. So over Christmas, I was a bit like up and down, but I was okay. But then it really hit me hard last week because of all the talk about, obviously, lockdown and all this. And I haven't really talked to my husband about it because I felt numb and angry more than anything. And then I got my period back for the first time, and I was just a mess, like mentally, because seeing the bleeding reminded me of my miscarriage, and I thought maybe I'm just going crazy. So I joined the Miscarriage Association UK Facebook group, and they're amazing, and the people on there are going through either similar or worse situations with miscarriages, and quite a few people said that my reaction to my period coming back was what they had. And they said that, you never really get over your miscarriage, even if you go on to have healthy pregnancies and babies and all this stuff. And I was like, okay, because immediately I said to my husband, I was like, that's it. I can't cope with this mentally. But actually, I can. But we've said we want to try again. But if I miscarry again, that's it, because they only look into it if you've miscarried 3 times in a row, with no obvious cause, then they do some genetic testing. But even then, I think it's hard to get. I mean, I'd pay to have it done, but I think it's a sign. I said, I'm going to be 38 this year. My health's against me, but my dream since I've been younger is to be a mum. Like, I'm so maternal. I want to be a mum. And that was the hardest bit, I think. And since I found the support, it's helped. But it's just terrible. There's nothing out there. When you're in hospital, like as an inpatient, unless the nurses themselves have had I can't even say it, have miscarried, you don't really get much sympathy or extra care or anything like that, which if you're feeling fragile, you just want to be hugged. And obviously they can't do that at the moment, but just something extra. And so it was awful. And to be in a ward with other random people who were like, oh, why are you in here? And it's like, well, I don't really want to talk about it. Yeah, it's tricky. But I'm okay. My period came back normally. It was just, yeah, and it was okay for me. It was only like 1 day late. So I know that side of my body is working, and maybe it was just my body saying, whoa, what's happening here, and wasn't ready for pregnancy. But in the back of my head, I'm like, I don't know what's happening, because I always have quite vivid dreams, and for years I've dreamt that in my dream I've said to people I'm pregnant when I'm not. Like, I've had like cushions stuffed up there, or I've said I'm pregnant and then suddenly I am and then I'm not. And I don't know if it's a sign that I'm just not ever meant to be pregnant, but that's a really hard thing to accept, and I've not even gone there yet. So it's been tough, and I'm being in lockdown and not being able to have a hug with my mum and see her face to face. I'm really close to my mum, so it's been really, really hard, like mentally, because I'm going through such a big thing. And it's interesting because a lot of people, I was 6 weeks when I miscarried, and a lot of people are like, oh, they've been told by other people, oh, you're lucky you weren't so far gone. And it's like, you're not lucky at all if you miscarried. However many weeks you are, you still lost a baby. However small they were growing in you, like, it was still pregnancy. And yes, obviously, I would imagine it's so much worse and more traumatizing if you get almost full term and then lose the baby or have a stillbirth. I can't even imagine. I wouldn't cope. Like, even this has been hard. And I'd filmed me finding out I was pregnant. I'd filmed me worrying about bleeding and all that. And I was going to post like a story thing, but I can't. I don't want to look at that footage anymore. I want to move on. We're going to wait a little bit now, I think, because I need mentally time to recover. But I also need time because of lockdown. Obviously, I can't see my parents still. And if I did fall pregnant again and miscarried again, I don't know if I could cope not being able to see my mum, and obviously all the restrictions and Adam not being able to come with me to hospital. It would be really hard. So I don't know. I think it would be stupid to knowingly want to get pregnant while we're in a national lockdown. I think if it's an accident, then fair enough, but we are like being very careful and planning to not be trying to conceive yet. Obviously, we don't know how long this pandemic's going to last, or lockdown, or anything really. And hopefully by the time I would fall pregnant and hopefully go full term, it would have, at least we'll be out of a lockdown. I doubt that, COVID will have gone. I think that's going to be around at least probably another year maybe. But yeah, it's tricky, and I can talk about it like this now, but a week ago I probably would have broken down because I hadn't really talked through it with my husband, and I was keeping it all in because I felt that was the best way to deal with it. Plus the fact that a lot of people forget that the husbands or the partners or the boyfriends, they're going through it too. It's also their baby, so you can't just think it's just you, because I was very cautious of how my husband was feeling. And obviously he's sad and upset, but he's more worried about me, of course, because he's so lovely. Yeah, so that's why I haven't been posting. I haven't felt like it, and I thought I have posted on Facebook now about it, so it is public knowledge what's happened. So I thought I'd just, do a YouTube video just to update you all. I hope that you're all safe and well and coping. This current situation in the world is awful. If we can get through this, we can literally get through anything. So comment below where you're from in the world, how the situation is where you are, or even if you want to talk about your experiences with, pregnancy or miscarriage or anything, feel free. I don't mind chatting. And please click subscribe if you can. That would massively help me out. And I'm planning on getting back to my usual posting on YouTube very soon. I have a lot of time on my hands, so hopefully I can come up with some inventive videos. But anyway, stay safe, everyone. Bye.